Greetings, everybody. Thank you so very much for celebrating a decade with us. It's been 11 years since I embarked on this journey. I remember vividly my intention at the time. And this is what I wrote on my LinkedIn profile back then. Thank you and welcome to my profile. All my life, I've been passionate about giving back and unleashing greatness within everyone. The need to teach and empower whilst making a difference has always been a driving force to what I do. I was 23 and I embarked on this journey. My vision was clear. I wanted to create a company with strong values of excellence and integrity with exceptional people. We have since employed over 52 Black female graduates. My dream has always been to inspire just one more person to be and to do more, to inspire a sense of purpose and pride in everyone. I've since been humbled to experience this remarkable journey. Thank you to all our subscribers. However, what we failed to do was grow our people. 1,000 placements later, we neglected to bridge the inequality gap between the have and the have not. Along the way, I met a gentleman who's sitting right next to me. Gorgeous, cute, intelligent, Athenkosi. The intention of this is to provide information that all graduates need to be able to embark on this journey. Your career is the most important aspect of your life, perhaps not the only aspect that will fulfill you, that will ensure you have a great quality of life. I met Athenkosi in 2012.
2012, yeah.
He had just graduated as an industrial engineer from WIT.
Yes.
He was a young boy then, walked
Still
into
am.
our office. How did you know about us?
Firstly, thank you for the platform. At the time, I was just looking for a job, to be honest. And I was probably surfing the internet. And I think your team reached out to me.
Really?
Yes. That's how good your team is. That's actually how good your team is. Yeah.
Really?
Your team reached out to me. You gave me the opportunity for an interview. I was 10 minutes early, as usual.
Really? I don't remember
Crisp
that.
white shirt. I remember because it's my job to remember things like this. Crisp white shirt. I forgot the lady's name. It was a Zulu lady, very beautiful. Lindelwa, that's it.
Yes.
Lindelwa then interviewed me. And I didn't think much of it because I just thought for some reason I thought I was gonna keep interviewing.
Until?
Yeah, and it happened to be my first and my last that
interview.
I needed.
Yeah, I remember we sent you to a particular company.
Yeah.
At the time, it was a 4PL logistics company.
Yes.
And they were doing inventory optimization, planning within
Tactical
the FMCG
planning,
space.
strategic
And
planning.
I remember that we sent your CV, they interviewed once, and they wanted to hire you. What do you think it is that they liked about you? What did you have that other industrial engineers didn't know at the time?
Oh wow, that's a loaded question. I had my personality, I guess.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember vividly the executive director made it clear what he liked in me.
Okay.
I prepared for the interview, and he asked me the first question that I expected. And before I could finish answering, because I was just regurgitating something I'd practiced, he just looked at my CV and he's like, wow, you know a lot of programming languages. And I said, yeah. I play around with the computer a lot. I try to make sure every project is done on a computer. I loved it because I didn't have access to it. So when I finally had access to it, I maximized it completely.
But here's the thing, industrial engineering is not an obvious choice for everybody.
Yeah,
you needed to have been privy to certain information for you to have embarked on that journey.
Yes.
How did you first know that there is something called industrial engineering?
My dad. That's actually a very clear one. it was, I wanted to be an engineer, anything that has the word engineer at the
Wow.
end. So when I applied to all my schools and all my, anything, I basically applied for engineering. Mechanical engineer, civil engineer, I didn't know industrial engineer at the time, electrical engineer. And my dad said to me, listen, there's this thing called industrial engineering.
Yeah.
You should try it out. And I said, no, that's my future, you don't decide that. So he gave me a book by M Goldratt called The Goal, which is now studied at MBA level, but he gave it to me as a way to learn what industrial engineering was. So before I got to decide what course I wanted during that holiday, he gave me that book. I essentially read that book, and then I came back, I was like, okay, I get it, let's do it. And then I applied for that. Like many other children, I didn't get in. I didn't have the right marks, but I was charming. So I met a very lovely lady who was doing the enrollment administration, and she just looked at my marks, looked at my face. I gave her a big smile, and she's like, "Okay, listen, I'm gonna write you up for BSc and microbiology, and come back." It was a Monday. Come back on Wednesday. I promise you'll be in. I said, I don't believe you. There's no way. You must be lying to me.
But was it hard? Was it hard?
The course?
Yeah.
Whew, if I say it was easy, then I'll be offending a lot of people. It's always hard, but I don't think it's any harder than any other lessons you have to learn in life and any other education you have to acquire.
Yeah.
You just have to commit.
And to anybody who doesn't know what industrial engineering is, how would you describe it in 3 words?
Give me a second to
So
process that.
I always say,
Need a second to process that. I'd love to hear your
process re-engineering. It is understanding the as-is and being able to define or eloquently put your to-be and put mitigating steps or activities to ensure that you get to your to-be.
You're definitely an industrial engineer. Probably more than I am.
Would you say?
Yeah. Process and system engineering is how I would describe it best, yeah. Because it's evolved all the time.
Really?
Anything that's I remember going to my dad and saying, Dad, it's either I'm an engineer or I kill myself. You pick.
But would you do industrial engineering? Because it's so ill-defined,
I would.
In terms of your career, it's not as structured as chemical engineering, mechanical engineering. Sometimes companies don't even know how to utilize you.
Yes, we still don't know how to utilize them.
Would you still study industrial engineering?
Yes, because of the very same reasons you've just highlighted.
Now, I'll tell you what my client said. So you go for an interview, we get a debrief. He said, I've never met such a curious person. But here's what Ate has, that the many candidates that you have.
Now I'm finally going to learn.
Yeah, he said, Ate has a great understanding of programming, systems, so he's able to manipulate the data so we can improve our customers' processes. How did you bridge that gap? A lot of engineers are not programmers. They don't find the back end of IT that interesting. Tell me about that journey.
Wow. It actually started at school, where whenever I would learn a complex concept, something very, very difficult to fathom, I would try to replicate it on a machine.
Okay.
So that it is stored somewhere in history for the rest of its life, and if I ever have to come back and I've forgotten what it is, I can not only read about it like you do in a textbook, you can literally jump into the thinking that you had when you were understanding this thing. So it's almost like a very specific and very structured way or very structured language of writing things down, and that's how I see programming. So I don't necessarily see it as a tool to change the world. Yes, it can, but I always saw it as like similar to English. It's a language, and it's a way of expressing yourself. But programming and coding in particular is so explicit. It's not ambiguous. It's either in or out, binary, 0 or 1. So if you wrote it down, you're guaranteed to remember it exactly the way you wrote it down.
I mean, I can't fathom where you were, what you were doing at the time.
Right.
I remember you came to my office and you said to me, and this was in 2014,
Yes.
and you said, data scientist is going to be the next big thing. How did you know? I'm sure God speaks to you when we are sleeping. Like, how do you know what to do to speak to the future ways of working?
I had seen it in action. I had solved problems in school already using computers and data. You would go to a client, you'd be asked to do some process mapping or something like that, and our university was very good at exposing us into the real world. So we would go there and you would see the problem, and it would be so hard to firstly express what the problem is, and once you understand the problem, the answer becomes so obvious. And I think there was times I'd write Excel sheets, and it's crazy. It would be, the person would be using an Excel sheet their whole life to do their job. I'd get there because I know a little bit of programming, so I'd maybe add like a macro script here or there, and then you just see it in the person, the change it makes in their lives. A simple thing like, you no longer have to do these 7 steps in your process. Do 1, I'll do the other 7, and now you're at step 9 or step 8. And then you just immediately see the impact it has on their lives, because all of a sudden now they ask themselves, well, what am I going to do now? You're like, that's it, but that's what I wanted for you. Now you've got time to do what you want to do. So then I had experienced real clients going through that.
And you were how old at the time?
I don't remember. I was still in varsity, so I don't know, 20 something, 22, 23.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you've since, I know, because I got a call from the same client that told me that Ate has been headhunted by an international company. You were meant to go do training and you found yourself a job. You found yourself in Iran.
Yes, I did. Yes, amongst other countries. Yes.
Amongst countries. You became a global citizen instantly.
Yeah. Wow, you actually have a very nice way of writing my career down, because I don't see it as that illustrious, but that's exactly what happened, yes.
I mean, tell me about working in Iran. To all of us, it's a war-torn country. Yes,
to all my Iranian friends out there. Oh man, I learned so much there, and the one thing I learned was just people and misinformation. I mean, when I was in Iran, it was the same thing. The reason I went to Iran is because it was not a favorite country at the time for anyone to go to. Being a young, curious kid again, from the villages, everything to me is a foreign country, including Johannesburg. So I was like, man, put me on a plane. As long as it's people on the other side, I'll find a way to talk to them. So got on a plane.
And how's the culture? Were you able to relate to the people? Were you able to extract information out of them? Were you able to deliver as you would in a country like ours, where we are cosmopolitan, every second person speaks English? Excuse my ignorance, I actually don't know what happens in Iran or what language they speak. Take us through that journey. Okay, so Iran, primary language is Persian, but there is English speaking. And yes, I was able to connect with people there. I'm still a hermit, so I still like my space. And the one thing I learned was what I thought Iran was, and what at least my circle thought Iran was not that. They are very cosmopolitan, actually. Excuse my ignorance.
They are and it's actually part of their story. Yeah. It's part of their story. Everyone thinks the same thing of Iran. It's actually outside of the veils that they have to wear, and outside of the cultural norms that have been created. There's actually very cosmopolitan people there. Very open-minded, very cosmopolitan country. It's contrary to popular belief. And you're working for a telecoms company. We're not going to mention who they are because they're not paying us. And what was the problem? What were you solving for at the time? Okay, so I've primarily made my career in data. And data always has 2 problems. You can always sort of put the problems in 2 buckets. It's either you've got a problem with access, that is, I cannot get access to this information, right? And that's where you get misinformation, information asymmetry. And whenever there's a gap in information, there's money to be made. So that's one problem you solve. The second problem is translation. So everyone has access to the same information, but they perceive it differently. And someone, like a CEO, has to unify these like divergent perceptions, that would be a second problem or second tier problem or second type of problem you're solving data. In Iran in particular, I was solving sort of both. So we had introduced something called micro market management, which was finding insights at a very low level, treating a municipality different to another one, and identifying that these two places have two different people, two different cultures, two different LSMs. Everything about these two metropolitans is different, even though they are most likely 40 kilometers or 100 kilometers away from each other. So we had a tool that could tell the stories individually. Like, this metropolitan is all about data, but this one is all about voice. This one is all about something else. So we were solving those problems. And what systems
were you using at the time? Were the systems that you learned in South Africa still relevant everywhere else in the world?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I think we have great talent in South Africa. We actually have really great talent. I just don't think we know it. It took me a long time to actualize myself. I still haven't actualized myself, as a matter of fact. You telling me all about me.
Well, he's since opened businesses with in Belgium, right? It was,
yes, I do have some friends that we have some friends there.
So I struggle to believe that you don't think that you've arrived.
There's too many problems to solve. There's still a lot of problems to solve for you to sit down, relax, and say, this is it. It's not it. We'll do this until the wheels fall off.
What do you consider to be the makings of a good leader?
Good listening, a good listener, empathy, decisiveness. There was one more, but it's not there anymore. But those are the top three that come to mind. That's a good leader for me.
What are you reading?
At the moment, Malcolm Gladwell, Talking to Strangers, interestingly enough. So
Why?
Hi, strangers out there.
Why?
I've always been curious about just people, how they think about things. And I think everyone is a complex human being, including myself, including yourself, including everyone watching. So I find books like that interesting in just giving me perspective about someone else and a culture that I don't know, I haven't immersed myself in. They give me good ideas.
In 2014, you told me about data science.
Yeah.
It took me too long to start branding ourselves as data scientist specialists.
Yeah.
3 years later, I regretted that decision. 3 weeks ago, you told me that there's going to be a new thing. Product owners. What the hell is a product owner?
Product owner actually is a branch of industrial engineering. Just fit into a specific context, and it's primarily used today in software engineering. But it's basically someone responsible for the final product that you hold in your hand, which is everything we were learning at school. So it's nothing new.
What makes a good product owner?
Not very different to what makes a good leader, but I would add being teachable, because you have to understand the problems that you're fixing, and the problems that you're fixing are never black and white. I can promise you that. Any problem that's worth fixing is very gray, very complex, and has a lot of cultural aspects and just a lot of facets. There's a lot of facets to people, so you have to be able to immerse yourself in a culture, be teachable, be a good listener, and the answers will just jump at you.
In which industries do product owners work?
Primarily today, we know them as product. Primarily, that word is being used in software today, and banking as well. They use it a lot. So, like a loan is a product to a bank.
FMCG companies?
FMCG
Are we seeing that?
would also sell bread but there's no one who's like a bread ambassander, you know.
Okay.
Yeah,
so product owners are literally ambassadors. Is that what you're saying?
Designers, they follow through. They build the product, understand the problem that the product is fixing, and go as far as to implement the product in the problem.
And a personality, do these people need to be able to interact with people? Do they need to extract information out of people? Do they need to be able to interpret the data and make sense of it? Tell me a little bit about the personality that makes a great product owner.
Okay, so They don't necessarily have to be able to extract data, because that's an art on its own. Data engineering, data science. Yes, you need some ability to be able to get some data and make decisions. But I would say product owners are more about problem solving. So people is your biggest leverage, right? So extracting information from people and not systems or data per se, that's going to be a key. If you can sit with someone and just understand their problem and it jumps at you, you're going to be a great product owner.
Can an industrial engineering graduate move into a product owner role? Or how long does it take? Can you almost like map it for us? What does a roadmap look like to becoming an exceptional product owner?
Okay, so first have a set of tools that you prefer. There's a lot of tools out there. I wouldn't recommend that you become a jack of all trades and a master of none, of which I am. But have a set of tools that you've picked, master them really well, because then you'll be able to apply them in many scenarios. Once you have your set of tools, get out there, talk to people. Now that's the part I struggle with. Talk to people.
You're doing well.
And yeah, be able to engage and understand people, because the problems that you are solving require you to be able to, let me say, remove a wall between you and the person you're trying to help. And those walls can be very big, very thick, very wide.
But interestingly, in South Africa, a lot of the buyer, a lot of the executives are still chartered accountants. The decision makers are still looking at it from a financial perspective. As an industrial engineer, as a product owner, and the many things that you've done, how difficult has it been for you to bridge that gap or to speak the same language to get your products or your offerings bought into?
I was going to say not that difficult, but I'll justify why. So it's not that difficult. Why? Because I use the same techniques. It's the same way I would be solving the client's problem, and a chartered accountant also has a problem. It's just that the language they speak is money. So you have to change your language, understand that their problem is money, the client's problem is, I don't know, a sore toe. And if you can, somewhere in between, understand that I can help you with your money, I can help you with your sore toe, and you guys can help me with my product, and you can have that conversation working, which is not easy, you should be able, it should work. So I would say it's the same techniques. However, it does make sense why accountants are still there, because they have a very good understanding of money in a way that I can't fathom. And a business at the end of the day is people and money coming together, and systems and tools and other things. But at the end of the day, a healthy business is people, money, the two things making each other.
Well, thank you, Ate. To wrap it up, what do you know for sure?
Oh, my name.
As an industrial engineer, what do you know for sure?
What I know for sure is that every problem has a solution.
As a data scientist, what do you know for sure?
Every problem can be put on a computer and modeled.
As an entrepreneur, what do you know for sure?
That's a good one. Maybe I'm not a great entrepreneur. Is that every problem has people involved in it.
Thank you so much. I mean, I've seen you, I've observed your journey for the past decade.
Thank you.
You've been very intentional, you've been very deliberate, you have been futuristic about your approach, and now you know we have product owners. I still don't know what that is, but best believe by the end of this week, I'll come back and tell you exactly what it is that you need to be to become a good product owner.
Thank you.
Lastly, for somebody who wants to teach themselves how to use SQL, what would you recommend?
First, get comfortable with a machine, because SQL is one way to solve a problem. There's a plethora of languages. And like I said, programming is just a language, and there's various languages. So the important thing is get comfortable with a machine first. So get comfortable with putting something on a machine that that makes you feel like you could break it. And once you can play at that level where you're risking the computer breaking or not, now you're getting into the fun stuff.
Is that it?
Yeah, I would say get very comfortable with the computer. Beyond that, The language itself is things that there's a lot of content online. There's a lot of content online. YouTube it. I actually learned all of my programming skills on YouTube, so shout out to YouTube and Google.
Very good. Remember to subscribe to our channel whilst you add it too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I've have a lot of mentors. So I've had friends that have studied the art, and I've tried to teach them my art, and I've learned a bit of their art. But the biggest thing when it comes to especially data, machines, just don't be afraid of a machine. It's like a car. Sometimes when you start it, it's going to start slow, it's going to choke if it's cold in the morning. It's the same with a computer.
We've got many graduates right now that are unemployed.
Yeah, that's a problem.
What would you say to them?
Don't give up, have faith. The world is shifting under our feet. COVID did a lot to unveil our eyes to what's possible. I would have never sat in a room like this with you before COVID.
Yeah.
So have guts, be audacious, and don't give up, have faith, because at the end of the day, the future belongs to the youngsters. And if you're unemployed, whatever solution you have that works for you could work for another unemployed child and another unemployed child and another unemployed child. And now,
so tell your story authentically.
There we go. Now we'll have a network effect, and before you know it, it's bigger than you could imagine.
Is the future Africa?
Oh yes. Oh yes, for many reasons that it would take me an hour to get into, because I'm excited about that.
There you go. He's lived in Iran.
Yeah, that's it.
He started businesses in Belgium. He's back in the country. He's an industrial engineer. He's no different to me and you. He was born and brought up in Elalini, somewhere in the Xhosa lands. He learned to put himself together well. I think he did a stellar job. He's eloquent now. He's stepping out, and I think we can all learn something from Ate.
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah.
Thanks for the opportunity, and I really appreciate the person you've become.
Thank you.
It's actually a trip to watch this happen. So,
Thank you.
So I have a lot of respect for you and the person you become. I really hope that, when we meet again, it's going to be similar but different.
Yeah.
Bigger, larger,
It is.
Scarier.
It is. Like an industrial consulting company, hey?
I'm not sure.
I think we should partner on that one, hey?
Yeah.
Nobody achieves the things that you've achieved alone.
True. Yes.
Who do you recognize for some of your achievements?
Okay, so there's quite a few, but I start at home. So I'll start with my old man. He's my role model, will remain so. From a professional point of view, in chronological order, yourself. You were a big catapult in my career, actually. Christopher Komodikis, if you remember.
Yes.
He put a lot of faith in me.
Oh, yes.
Sebastian Dilatele and Sebastian Limpel. He's now the CEO of Reactor, and Sebastian is now going to be an entrepreneur in healthcare. My business partners, many, but the ones that I've been working very closely with, Milton De Lima, Matthias Brotner, Yehudi Olafut, and there's a lot more that I'll be picking up as my career goes on. But that's just the few that I can mention that have not only had an impact on my career, but me as a person. So.
But tell me, when did you know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
You are forced into it, right? It's your upbringing forces you to make a change. It's like any problem that you're trying to fix. So I didn't jump at entrepreneurship wanting to be an entrepreneur and enjoying it, and I just felt there was.
It's not that fancy. Hey?
It's not for me. I mean, it's
hard work.
It's hard work.
Yeah.
You're a problem solver.
Yeah.
You're continuously in the rut, fixing the real problems, and not necessarily. I guess I just feel like it's not such a luxurious or I don't think I think it's a facade.
Yeah.
It's just hard work.
It is.
And I was in a position where I felt it's either I continue this way and my life goes to what I perceive would dead end, or I make a change.
I love
and I started with myself, And then I started being an entrepreneur to other people and helping them with their journeys, and that's all it is.
But let's talk about the characteristics of the people that you partner with and the people that you employ as an entrepreneur.
Yes, okay. So for me, the characteristics are actually quite similar. I look for entrepreneurs when I employ. Because again, I feel like I'll be creating the same environment that I had that forced me to leave and become an entrepreneur. So everyone I've ever worked with, and there's various levels, there's various skills that are needed, but what I look for immediately is, do you want it? Are you hungry? Do you want to make a change? And what does it, do you have an idea of what it costs? And even if you don't, I will support you. I'll help you understand what that means. And I'll help you as far as I can with my journey because you are equally helping me with mine. Right.
On the issue about partners, being an entrepreneur as a startup, we see this all the time.
Yeah.
Even Steve Jobs was fired from his own company. What goes wrong in those relationships?
When you start putting the business before that original relationship that that built the company.
Say that again, louder.
Do not put the business before that original relationship, that magic that created the company. You should never at some point forget that that's what got you there. And I think whenever you start to get maybe eluded by the money, eluded by the success, then you start forgetting that actually entrepreneurship is a bunch of friends or a bunch of partners or a bunch of like-minded people. They are targeting one objective they're trying to fix. And as long as you keep your mind on that objective, you focus relentlessly, I'm going there, I'm trying to fix that. Don't let anything else get in the way. Just keep there. And you will remain an entrepreneur as long as you remain there.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah.
Character, integrity, the relationship is so much more important, and then the business. Thank you, Ate.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.